In this video, I'm going to review how to use flat files, which are Excel files. Amazon calls them inventory template files, to create new products and update your existing ASINs on Amazon. Before I go over how to use them and how to create them, I'm going to quickly review the benefits of using a file. Why should you use a file to create your listings over doing it on the user interface in Seller Central? And there's a few reasons for that. The first one is when creating parent-child variation listings. Say you have multiple colors of the same product or different sizes, and you want to have them all on the same page with a drop-down or a box to choose which color. It's a lot easier to create those listings through an Excel file and then creating them through the UI. And so that would be, if you have any of those listings and you learn how to use flat files, it will save you a lot of time and headache. Second benefit is that the data is always saved. So when you create a listing through the UI, through Seller Central, if for whatever reason that listing gets deleted, even by mistake, or if another seller messes with your listing, or if Amazon decides to delete some of your text or bullet points or backend keywords or anything like that, it's hard to recover that information. If you, however, if you created the listing with a flat file with an Excel sheet and you save the Excel sheet, after you create it, you name it with the product, you save it in a safe place in your computer or in the cloud. If your listing ever gets deleted, you could just re-upload the same file and everything gets recreated again the same way it was. Another benefit is that you could use the files for other marketplaces as well, other countries. So say you created a file for Amazon US and you decide to start selling in Amazon Canada, you could upload the same file and it will generally work. Sometimes you will get a small error because of the way the files are formatted in Canada. Sometimes the categories are formatted a little differently, or you need to add a certain ID for the category that doesn't exist in the US. But even then, it will save you a lot of time. You will upload it, Amazon will spit out a result that one column is missing. You just add that column, and you're good to go. Another benefit is with the RPI score now, there's a FBA in-stock rate that goes down tremendously when your listings are out of stock. So if you have products that tend to be out of stock for long periods of time, and you don't like the fact that your FBA in-stock rate is going down, you could purposely delete those listings completely from your Seller Central account and then use the file to relist them again once you get them back in stock. Although something to keep in mind, even though the FBA in-stock rate shows on the IPI score page, and it shows your ranking, and when you're not doing good, it turns red. Amazon pages support clearly states that that metric does not affect your score in any way. It's just an indication of how of lost opportunity where you could have raised your score had that inventory been in stock. So it's a bit confusing, but that FBA in stock rate actually does not affect your score. But still, if you want to delete your listings just to raise that, you could do that, or you can mark them as not replenishable, high recommendations. That should achieve the same thing. Anyway, the last benefit of them again is with variations, and this would be a little bit more advanced. You could technically use files to add your products as variations to other people's listings. So say someone else created a parent-child variation of of an Apple product or any brand, any big brand product, and you have a product that's a variation of that listing, and you want to add yours as a child onto that existing parent. Through the UI, I don't think it's possible to do it. It might be possible, but I don't know a way that it's possible. However, through files, it is possible. It is a bit complicated, and I don't recommend doing it because many times it can trigger an Amazon seller performance violation for variation misuse, they call it, manipulating variations. Even when the variation is true and real, they don't like sellers adding their variations to parents that were created by other sellers. So that's just a side note that it is possible to do it with files, but you probably shouldn't be doing it. Alright, so the first step to create a file is actually to go to Amazon and download a template file for the category that you want to create a product for. Now, you shouldn't take a blank Excel sheet and try adding the fields yourself because Amazon, the files, the templates that you download for them have unique IDs, and they're structured specifically with a lot of entered information from your account to make the process work as simple as possible. And if you don't use files from directly downloaded from Amazon, the upload may not go through well, and if it does get listed, it may get listed in a way that's not so good, that causes issues down the line. So you choose your category. In this case, we're going to choose as an example office desks. So we're going to go to office products and office furniture and desks and workstations and office desks. Now once you select a category, you can see over here that it will automatically add this category, and it will tell you the type, item type. You could add multiple categories to the same, if you go now and say you select this one too and this one, and then you download the file, it will have the option to list all three categories, and there will be a drop down for each category. I don't recommend doing that. It's better to create one listing per file, so not multiple listings per file, because if down the line you want to change anything only in one listing, you would probably want to delete the other listings before you do that. So it's easier to keep every file with just one category, and not add multiple categories or multiple products to the same file. Let's delete this. Okay, so we're going to do office desks, and then you could choose here custom and choose only the fields that you want. However, advanced is always better. It shows you all the different options that you could include. So advanced is always better. It has everything built in already, and you can then just ignore the fields that you don't need. Once you set this, you click generate template, and then it will ask you to download the file, download it, and save it, and then open it. And once you open it, we'll start filling it out. Alright, so once you open the file, this is what it will look like. There are multiple tabs on the bottom. However, you want the template tab. That's the tab where all the information goes in. There are other tabs that will show you valid values, so what possibly you could enter into every field. However, most fields you could enter anything you want, even when there's a drop down that gives you pre-populated options. You could fill them with anything you want. But valid values is useful when you want to see what the options are. So the first thing you would do is feed product type. This will be the category that we selected initially for the file. So in our case, we selected office chairs, so it will automatically be feed product type would be desk, and then the item type would be home office desk. So you could see once you select this, the line turns red. Now officially, every box, every cell that is red is required. However, they're not all actually required. You could skip some of them and the file will still go through. You will just have to fill them out later in Seller Central. Some of these fields, if you don't fill them out and you try to upload the file will not go through. So I'm going to review each cell now and explain what you want to put in there and if it's required or not, and what the options you have. So the first cell is item SKU. This is a stock keeping unit. It's the unique identifier you want to have for the product. So you can put in there whatever you want, or whatever the product model number or item number, part number is. Brand name, this you put the brand name. If you have brand registry and your brands are registered, you click on the drop down, it will already have all your brands that are registered to your account there, so you just have to choose from the brand name. Item name, you want to put a name for your product here. Manufacturer generally would be the same as brand name. External product ID and external product ID type, these are very important for the listings. So as you can see here in the drop down, you could choose from GTIN, EIN, GCID, UPC, or not sure what this is. So usually there is a ASIN drop down here, and I'm not sure why this category doesn't have it, but usually you could just type in, if this product is already listed, you could type in here ASIN, and then over here you could put in the ASIN, or usually you would list with a UPC, and then you put in here the UPC. Now this listing is a single listing, so we're gonna be listing now. We're gonna go over listing a single product, and then once we're done with that, we're gonna go over how to do this with a parent-child relationship. So here you put the UPC, and item type we already put. Now price, quantity, and main image URL are the last fields here that show required. However, these are not actually required. You can upload the file without them. The listing will just show incomplete, and then on Seller Central you could add a price, or add a price, quantity, or an image. Quantity is only relevant for seller fulfilled. If you are doing FBA, quantity will always be empty. It will ignore it anyway because quantity goes by what you have in FBA. Main image URL, this is a direct URL to a picture of your main image. Again, you could ignore this and add this later. It won't affect the uploading of the listing. Then all these, you could add other image URLs. You don't have to do that. Images is generally easier to add through Seller Central unless you have already all the URLs for the images for all the products you want. Parent child, this section variation we're going to leave empty. We're going to go through this later once we're done with this. And update delete, this allows you if you want to delete an existing listing, but generally you will leave this empty and just you would want the information on the list on the file to override any information in Seller Central. Closure type, not sure what this is. Product description, you can put a description. Part number, you can put a part number. Model, you can put. These are not required. Now you'll notice there's a lot of fields in these files, and these files, they're not really perfect, meaning a lot of these files will have fields that have nothing to do with the category that you downloaded and actually don't make any sense. It's just the way these files are. Amazon is getting better at them and keeps releasing new versions of files every few days, and with new fields and remove fields and all that. But if you see a file you don't know what it's for or it doesn't make sense, just ignore it and move on. Included features, you could really add anything you want. These things don't generally show up on the page or in search. However, they do get entered to Amazon's backend system, and sometimes they will surface it or allow people to search through it. So if for example, if this office desk has some special feature, maybe it goes up or moves, becomes smaller and bigger, or things like that. You might want to write them there. Keep it short, shouldn't be more than a few words. Frame material type, this you could add. Speaker type, this has nothing to do with desks unless your desk has a built-in speaker maybe. So this has no, leave it empty. Compatibility options, again, probably not relevant to desks. Compatible devices, same. Fill material type, maybe relevant. Shelf type, maybe relevant. Specification, not sure what this is. And again, some of these, if you're not sure, you could always go to the values tab on the bottom and see if it explains what it is. But mostly these, you could see over here, these are called discovery fields. So they are not required. They just help customers find your product. However, here you have the bullet points. So this is where you would add your 5 bullet points that would show on the front end. And then target audience base, you could put men, women, things like that. Catalog numbers is if you have. Specific use keywords, again, it helps Amazon index your product and show it to the right people. So you could put it, if it's for the kitchen, outdoor, indoor, things like that. And you have a few of those. So we're going to continue. Target audience keyword, again, there's drop downs here. You could choose, if it's a desk specifically for children or babies, things like that. Alright, okay, then there's these. These are, again, more attributes you could add to your listing. These don't seem relevant to desks, but they might be relevant to the product you're listing. Genetic keywords, this is over here. So actually, let's go back for a second. Alright, so these are subject matter. Subject matter are, some people say they're important for indexing, so you can really type in anything you want. Generic keyword search term, this is the famous search terms field in the back end. This is where you populate it. Country as labeled, maybe you could put where this is manufactured. You don't have to put it. Fur description, no connection. Number of sets, if it's a set, maybe put it here. Occasion, number of pieces, set name. If your desk has a smell, I guess. Not sure why these fields are here. Again, this doesn't really make sense, but any field that's irrelevant, just ignore it. Alright, color name could be important when you have variation listings. We'll go over that later. So this is where you would put the color name. Color map, this is just the Amazon standard color name. So, if you have a rose gold or rose blue or, things like that, the color map would just be gold or blue or something like that. Size name, this is again important for variation listings, for size variation. So here's where you would put the size value. Material type, over here you could choose from a bunch of different materials, or you could enter your own. Style name, this would also, here you could also enter anything you want really. This could be useful for style variations, which basically allows you to do a variation almost on anything. Wattage, this here wouldn't be relevant. Special features, again, these are probably not relevant to desks. Pattern name, this could also be relevant for variations, or just put if the desk has a pattern. Item type name, not sure what this is. Department name, choose a department. Alright, so that's the discovery section, and then we have the dimensions. So this would be, might be relevant to desks. You could put here the maximum weight of loading on the desk. I don't know how that would be useful. You don't have to put these things in. Website shipping weight, this is not really relevant. If you want to put it in, you could put item shape. This could be relevant to the desk. Item display height, and these are most likely show up what the item itself. It's with weight, dims and weight. But this is not relevant for FBA, for example. Specifically for your fees, this is just for the item itself. If you want to surface that information. Item height, item length. So this is really the same. I'm not sure which one of these actually shows up in the front end. You could upload, different information in each one and see which one comes up. All right, this information is important if you're selling your product as FBA and you want the listing to be created as an FBA listing and not as a self-fulfill and then have to convert it. So you would select over here Amazon and A, and then it would automatically be created as an FBA listing. Here you can enter your product height, width, length, and the different, if it's in different units of measure, package weight, and if it's kilogram, pounds, or stuff like that. And that's that. Compliance here, so different categories have different compliance fields and columns, so this would be based on your exact category you downloaded. However, most of these are not required, and you could just skip them unless, of course, it's required by law, things like that, but from Amazon's standpoint, they're not required. Batteries required. This is required. Some listings will not upload if you don't enter this. So obviously this is a desk, so most likely there are no batteries. And then you have to, these again, if it's a hazmat product, you have to fill this in. If it's not, you could just select not applicable for all these, and you should probably do them. That's it. These are the only ones that are required. Safety data sheet URL, even though it shows as red required, it is not required. It's not required in order for the file to go through. Amazon may require it separately, but the file will still go through. And then all these things, that's it. You don't really have to fill anything else over here for the file to go through. You could, add a bunch of different information on the offer, condition, things like that, but by default, it just gets created as new. And business B2B pricing, you could add that here, although I prefer to add that through automated pricing. Amazon has an automated pricing feature for B2B pricing where you could have all your products priced automatically at a percentage below your retail, your regular selling price based off on quantity. So you could have price for 5 units, price for 10 units, price for 50 units, and it's much easier to handle all that through one file in the automated pricing section. So I don't generally use this section. You could use it if you want, and that's pretty much it. So that's the whole file, and if you filled out everything we discussed, then you will be able to upload the file. The listing will get created within a few minutes. Now, I'm going to go through this one more time with parent-child, just to show you how that would work. So if we wanted to do a parent-child, so say we had 2 colors, so we would have 3 lines. The first line is for the parent, so this is the parent ASIN, which is not an actual product, it just groups the child products. So these would be the same. So this information stays the same. And the SKU, so the parent does need a SKU. So we're going to put a SKU. And the parent SKU could be, 1. So you can make the SKU here, say SKU group. This would be SKU 1, SKU 2. Brand name would be the same for all. Item name would be the same for all. Let's say this was black and this was white, so this would be item name dash black, item name dash white. Manufacturer would be the same. External product ID for the parent, you would leave these both empty because the parent does not need a UPC or anything like that. It only needs a SKU, and then the ASIN gets created automatically. For the child, though, each one of them should have its own UPC or ASIN, and then you would select, what type it is. Price. For the parent, price, quantity, and main image, you would leave empty. For these, if you wanted to fill it out, you could fill it out. You don't have to. This is where this is where the parent-child relationship actually gets created. So for the first line, this would be the parent. So you would select their parent. This one would be child and child. So this is the parent. These are the children. Parent SKU, that would be the SKU here you gave to the parent. So that would be SKU group. That's the SKU we gave the parent. You can name it anything you want, but whatever you put over there, you have to put here for the children. So, again. Alright, so parent SKU, you're basically putting on every child line item, you're telling Amazon which parent SKU it belongs to. For the parent, you leave this field empty because the parent SKU is already specified in the beginning. Relationship type, so this you select variation. However, on the parent, you don't put that in. You only put these on the children. So that means these are variations. And then variation theme, this is what type of variation you want the parent and the children to share. So if it's a size name, then that means these would be two different sizes. If they're two different colors, then you would select color name. Now, whatever you select for the parent, the children have to be exactly the same, otherwise it won't go through. So in our case, it will be color name, so we're just going to put color name for all of them. As you can see here on the drop-down, different categories have different valid variation values. So this category supports size name, item package quantity, and this means, for example, that you could have 3 different listings with different sizes or different package quantities, or you could have 2 variations. It could vary by package quantity and color, or you could have material, or material and size, scent, and then size name, color name, size, scent, and package quantity. Now, some categories will only show in the drop-down color. Some will show nothing in the drop-down, so this whole thing will be black, means that category does not support variations. Some of them will show only 2 or 3 variations. However, this is where files are really powerful, is that no matter what comes up here, you could technically override this and put in any variation theme you want that is a valid variation theme. So some categories, if you download their files, you will see 50 different variation theme options. And I'm not sure the exact total amount of variation theme options Amazon has, but there are a lot. And some variation themes only Amazon could create. Those are more complex ones, like 3 different variations, 4 different variations. But most of them can be created through file, and you could just paste in there. And as long as you type it correctly, you could put in there any variation theme you want. And the only limitation with that is that any variation theme you put here, you have to have a column to specify the values for that variation. So if it's color name, there has to be a column for color. So there is a column for a color, so that's not a problem. If you specify material, there has to be a column for material, and you have to put in there a value for every child. However, if there isn't a column for the value you select here, you could really just you could unprotect the sheet and then insert a new column. So to unprotect the sheet, you would click in Excel on File, Info on the left, and then under Protect the Sheet, you would click Unprotect. And once you do that, you will be able to add a new column. And on this file, I already did that now, so you could click Insert, and then it will add another column. And as long as this is a valid header from any different type of file, it will go through. I don't recommend doing this. You can get into a lot of trouble with Amazon, by playing with variations that don't belong in that category. Amazon has reasons why different categories would support different variations. So I don't recommend doing this unless you are 100% sure that what you're doing is okay by Amazon. But just so you know, it is possible to create almost any type of variation in any category, even if it doesn't come up here. So this is really the information for the variation, and then everything else pretty much stays the same as we went through in the child single listing. The only other difference is that when you go to this section fulfillment, if you're using FBA, as you can see, this got grayed out because a parent does not have a fulfillment option. So only children have fulfillment options because Amazon, you're not actually selling the parent. And then same thing with the dims and weight. You don't have to fill them out for the parent. If, however, all your children share the same dims and weight, you could fill them out for the parent, but I don't think it does anything because it's not a fulfillable ASIN. So this pretty much covers how to create products on Amazon with a parent-child variation or without a parent-child variation using flat files. And again, I believe this is the most efficient and probably best and only way you should use to create any type of listings because it is a safe way to do it, and you get to keep the information should anything happen and you need to reuse it. You will have all the information at your fingertips, and which will make your life a lot easier. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions about this video or anything else, or if you didn't like the video for any reason, let me know in the comments. I read every comment and I will do my best to answer you. Thank you again, and we'll see you in the next video.